Hi everyone, it's your book coach Liisa Kovala here. Grab a cup of coffee and settle in for a discussion about all things writerly. I'm the author of Sister's Winter War and Surviving Stutthof, my father's memories behind the death cave, and I'm an author accelerator, certified fiction, and memoir book coach. As a Finnish Canadian, I also love my coffee. In this podcast, we'll take a coffee break together to chat with authors, publishers, book coaches, marketers, agents, publicists, booksellers, and many others. Welcome to Women Writing. So happy you could join us for a coffee and a chat. I'm thrilled to have Kathryn Mockler join us today for a coffee break. Kathryn is a writer, screenwriter, experimental filmmaker, editor, and publisher, and the author of the story collection Anecdotes. She co-edited the print anthology Watch Your Head, Writers and Artists Respond to the Climate Crisis. Her films have screened at TIFF, EMFA, and the Palm Springs Film Festival, and most recently at the Arizona Underground Film Festival and REELPoetry HoustonTX. She runs the literary newsletter Send My Love to Anyone and teaches screenwriting and fiction in the writing department at the University of Victoria. Hi, Kathryn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Oh,
And we actually met on Substack
we did.
through our newsletters and different communities and chatting there. It's been so lovely.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Good. It's a nice compared to say, I don't know, other social media platforms, it feels sort of kind of friendly and lovely and supportive. How do you feel about
It
it?
does. I know, I do too. I think I've been on it since 2021 and I wasn't really paying like I was just using, the platform as a place to um put my own writing, and then also my Substack is also a literary journal, and so also sharing other people's writing. And so there wasn't really a community on there. It was just kind of like a platform
Yeah.
and a web hosting
Right.
thing, and then you could send out an email. And so over the years they're trying to do a lot of internal recommendations, and so it's now becoming more of a community and more of a platform. And I think different writers are seeing, oh, like I could actually build an audience, but then I get to keep my email address. And if somehow Substack goes south like some
Yes.
other platforms do, then you
Yeah.
can take your audience and leave. But yeah, they're doing a lot internally to kind of build
Yeah.
connections. So
Yeah.
I'm finding it's better now than it was, and I'm trying to like help facilitate that on mine, and
Yeah.
for if
Absolutely.
new people come, like
Yeah,
you know,
especially in the CanLit community. I mean, we were talking earlier that
yeah,
maybe there's not as many Canadians on there yet,
yeah,
but it's kind of a growing place. And as people kind of mass exodus from X and other platforms, I think
yeah,
they're finding Substack. So,
yeah,
we're starting to seeing a lot of growth there. But it'd be fun to see more Canadian writers and readers.
yeah. And I also think sometimes people go on and think it's like when you join Twitter, or Blue Sky, or Facebook, and then once you find your friends, you're
Yeah.
all posting and sharing. And for some reason, it's not quite like that. It's a bit of an empty room.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes people might get frustrated and think, oh, it's not working for me.
Hmm.
So the thing is, it's you have to kind of find people and share and interact, and then it gets fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you do start to make connections,
Yeah,
and
that's
I've
how
just
we
found it
met.
so great. That's how we met, and
Yeah.
I've met so many great authors and folks, creative people. So as a very creative person, I was reading your bio the other day. I'm like so impressed with all the things you've done. How do you how do you manage your creative life? Like you're a professor and you're a writer and filmmaker, and I mean the list goes on of the things you do. What does a creative week look like for you?
Well, I do have ADHD, so that's probably why I work on so many different things, and I'm incredibly unstructured. So I'm not, not the greatest about giving advice because, well, unless this is how someone else's brains
Mhm.
works. But even with my Substack, like I just get an idea and I go with it. So like maybe someone else gets an idea and they actually stop and think, is this a good use of my time?
Yeah.
Should I work on this project? I just, the minute I'm excited, I just go.
Yeah.
And no matter what, so I've started a couple of other journals before, and I get these project ideas for myself or collaborative, and I just go, and sometimes they work and sometimes
Yeah.
they don't. And then I get, if I'm working on a long project, then I like to have lots of small projects.
Mm.
So I might write a poem or a flash fiction piece or something while I'm working on a screenplay or a longer piece, because I get bored with it. And
Yeah.
then I need the instant gratification. So it's really just like dopamine hits. It's
Yeah.
like instant gratification. And yeah, my sister's also a writer, and she's able to like work on one project and see
Right.
it through.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of I'm sort of a bit all over the place. And that's why even my Substack's like that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a reflection of I'm all over the place.
I
So
love that. And I feel like that describes me. Like as you're speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what happens is I'll have several things on the go too. And I just sometimes need to walk away from something just to do something short and brief and like just get her done. And I know people who will spend, a week working on an article. No, I'm gonna just go sit, do it. I might leave it and come back and proofread, but I'm not gonna spend, eons on something because I'm like, no, I'll put that energy into my novel or something longer term, but these short
yeah.
pieces, I'm gonna just go and get her done.
Yeah, like, and even with like lately, I've been writing more on Substack. Like, I'll go through, and I'm just all of a sudden decided I'm going to do a series on book publicity. Well, I didn't plan it. I just wrote whatever came out of my
Yeah.
head. There was no structure. It's like it's a bit, and then my writing process is like literally bizarre. I write on Substack. I post it when it's almost finished. I don't send it out as an email.
Mm-hmm.
Then I start sharing it on social media, and then I edit it. It's
Okay.
really insane.
Interesting.
Again, I think it's just
Yeah.
I edit it because it's already out and I don't want it to be bad. And I mean, I get it to a place where I'm not embarrassed of it, but like for
Yeah.
typos and stuff, I'm still editing it when it's already published.
Oh, that's great.
It's a bizarre process. I don't
No,
know.
but I think there's so much freedom in that. And there's
Yeah.
like permission, for other people to like, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be super, super polished, but the information is
No.
there. And it's that recent one that I read of yours was so useful. Like I read that and I thought, oh, where was this when I published my first book, And so
Yeah.
like, I just love that idea that it just was something you came, okay, I got to write this and I'm going to
Yeah.
do
Like
some
there's no
research.
plan. Like I think other people like plan their posts and plan their content,
Yeah.
and if I did that I would rebel against my own
Right.
plan, so I can't.
Yeah.
So I'm not really uh, I'm not really in control of it all. So
Yeah.
yeah, whether it's running the Substack, or I mean the great thing about the Substack is I also post my own creative work and stuff on it too. So I'm using the process to also fuel my own writing as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of like this hybrid. When I was coming of age as a writer, I mean, self-publishing was so looked down on,
Right.
and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just love how it's like, yeah, you don't need any
Yeah.
permission. Yeah, probably if I pitched that, nobody would want it. So, but
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that
that
too.
too, yeah.
Yeah, like this whole idea of Substack is where we really are able to, have those ideas, those creative thoughts, write them down, send them out, not have the gatekeeper saying, wow, well, and
Yeah,
edit when you want to edit. Like
yeah.
it's just so much more immediate and reaching people in a way that is, like when you're waiting for a book to be published, that can be years, you know, and here we can
Exactly. And
do,
I mean, I need an editor. I
yes,
don't want to disparage editors, but
100%.
there's a bit of a like, I mean, I did write this other essay where, I had an editor. It was an amazing experience and really challenged me. But what the kind of thing I'm writing on Substack, I can get away with not having an editor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if
Yes,
I were writing a
100%.
book of essays or something, I
Yes.
would be needing an editor to
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
shape it. But there's a permission to be a little bit messy on
Yeah.
Substack, even have a typo or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Inevitably, I
it's,
press send after I've
yeah,
read it over and over,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh yeah, there are some mistakes,
yeah,
but you can fix it. And then if you had a group of essays and you decided to collect them and publish them, I mean, that's when you have that editorial process happens,
exactly. Yeah. So I
right?
don't want to make it seem like I don't
No,
think I need an editor or anything. I
no,
do,
no,
but
we all do.
that's not the form. Exactly. That's not the form I'm really like. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll collect some of the thing my posts. I kind of am seeing them as sort of
Yeah.
scaffolding for maybe
That's
a
a
book
great
or
idea.
something. And
Yeah.
Kirby, who writes a column
Yeah.
on Send My Love to Anyone, is doing that with the posts
Okay.
that they are doing as well. So
Such a great idea.
it can be kind of a testing
Yeah.
what's working, what doesn't, what's resonating. So it's very cool, but I don't feel it has to be perfect.
No. And I think that's, to me, that's kind of the lovely thing is it feel like posts that I read feel authentic and feel personal sometimes, but they don't feel like they're, the person didn't spend a month writing this. Like, right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that perfection. And I really appreciate that. Like you really think, I feel like people are being very authentic there. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Like
love
I'm
it.
even gonna write in my about there will be typos. I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
write that.
100%.
It's reminded me like
Ah, that's
don't
good.
don't expect
Yeah,
low expectations.
I know. And yeah, like I say, inevitably, as soon as I press send and that it goes out to everyone's inboxes, that's when I realize, oh yeah, there was something wrong with that. And too late. Like, and it kind of teaches you, like, as sort of a recovering perfectionist, is kind of teaching me about like I don't need to be like I don't need to hold on to that idea of perfection. I can just it can be what it is and it's okay and people are okay with that. You become
I
less just
also don't
judgmental.
send right to an email. It's
Okay.
very rare that I do that. I mostly
Okay.
post on the web and then once a month I do this is the issue.
Oh,
So
that's
then so then I can always change it.
oh, that's great.
And occasionally if I think a post is like one I did send of the publicity one, I thought, well, I want people to know about it, so I will send that out. So I'm very careful because I don't want people to turn off the tap. So I
Yes.
don't send out very often.
Yeah.
And then I can't stand that feeling of, oh my God, I've sent it out and I have 10 typos. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but you don't get read as much when you do that. Like it's a kind of strategy. I'm like kind
yeah,
of balancing like then I actually, if I send the newsletter out, I really try hard to not have
yeah,
typos, but you always
yeah.
do. You always do.
You
There's
always
no,
do.
even if you write a book, you always
Yeah,
have
even if
typos.
it's
So
been through the editorial process and
yeah,
line editing and copy editing, and like
yeah,
800 other people have read it and it gets published,
hmm
and there's still things like even,
yeah.
the big publishing houses, it's still,
Oh, for sure.
percentage of
Yeah,
errors that they allow and whatever. So, I don't know. That's one of those issues. I love the idea though that you're kind of curating what is going out because I know I send way too much out a week and I know I do. And yet each of them is different. Like one is featuring another author, and one is the podcast, and one is the newsletter that is more personal to my own writing. And I
yeah.
think I often think I'm flooding people's inboxes, and they're going to get sick of it. Like so, I
But
mean
are
that's a
they
nice idea.
unsubscribed? Like, I mean, it's
Yeah,
no, I mean, the thing is, it's rejection sensitivity. So I'd like take it
yeah.
personally when someone unsubscribes. So I mean, but they always unsubscribe. There's always going to
Right.
someone
There's always going to be
unsubscribing. Like,
unsubscribers. Yeah,
and then if you send it out and people share it, then you get more subscribers. So
yeah. I
that's,
don't know.
I don't think, I think you just know by your you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If your audience has, but like I kind of made a big deal about not posting a lot, sending out a lot.
yeah.
So I think it's like I'll send between 2 and 4 a month.
Okay.
And I try and
Thanks.
stick to that.
That good
But
advice.
I'm always on notes. I'm always posting on the
Yes.
web. If people want more, they can go.
Find
And
it.
then yeah. So I'm always sharing and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I started out with just once a month. So I don't, that's what people were
Right.
expecting. And then I've kind of upped it to 2 to 4 times.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right.
feel like any more is probably pushing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. Like there's so many ways that people are dealing with these things and just
Yeah.
figuring it out. And I think it's fair to say, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to try that
Yeah.
and experiment a little bit because,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just fascinating. I did want to ask you about you have like quite a lot out there already. You have a story collection called Anecdotes that came out in 2023. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that book?
Sure. Yeah, it's a collection of short fiction, anything from one line to a longer story, lots of flash fiction in there. And it's in four parts. And each part is quite distinct, but thematically they kind of resonate. So the first part is sort of these fabulous, absurdist tales. The second part is autofiction, which is very realistic. Then there's a strange part where there's one-liners about the kind of climate crisis. And then the last section is a series of tales between the past and the future who are in a power
I
struggle.
love
And so
that.
that's the kind of,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's a bit of a strange, again, working out of my kind of personality of doing a whole bunch of different things that sort of fits
Yeah,
with,
no kidding.
but they all kind of connect in a weird way. And
Yeah.
I didn't know how they were connecting, but then my editor, Malcolm Sutton, said, "Oh, I think there might be a connection between like male abuse and the climate
Mhm.
crisis." And
Right.
so, and I was like, "Oh, yes, of course." And then that kind of
So
a
did you,
lot, it just, yeah.
I was going
So
to ask
he
you,
picked up on something I did.
yeah, well, and that's what, editors and beta readers and folks who
Yeah,
haven't seen the work come to it,
yeah,
right? They see things that we don't necessarily see, which is
yeah.
incredible. I was going to ask you if did you set out to write a book, or was this just thing you'd been writing small pieces, and then decided, okay,
Well,
I'm going to collect this?
yeah, I'm a multi-genre writer, and the th I have published other for like five altogether between collaborations and
Yeah.
self-publishing and three traditionally published solo poetry books. But my poetry is very narrative. I have a screenwriting background. I'm study narrative. It's like my hobby.
Yeah.
And so even my poems weren't really ever poems, like I called them poems, but sometimes they're flash stories and sometimes they're not. So when I sent this to Book Hug, I when I sent this to Book Hug, it was initially poetry. And then when we met, I'm like, you know what? I don't really think this is poetry. And they're like, yeah, we agree. Like they accepted it. And then we had our first meeting. And then they're like, but if it's going to be stories, it has to be
Right.
longer. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I went into, so once I realized, oh, it's story collection, then I had this huge writer's block and I couldn't. So some of them are very old stories, some are new, some are pieces of other things. And I just sort of gradually, it's like clay, I kind of put them, massage them. And then once Malcolm had said that, and I sort of knew
Yeah.
how I could string it all together in a way that made sense to me, then I sort of more intentionally filled it out.
Okay.
And then so it was
So
very
interesting.
much my going all over the place
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
And then this is and the deadline
Yeah.
looming. So it was weird. They accepted it. I had to expand it. And then I kept delaying because of COVID.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm really glad because I think I wrote a better book having that
Right.
time. And I'm so happy Book Hug was flexible. Eventually they came in and said, okay, you're meeting with Malcolm now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Malcolm had edited, I knew Malcolm, I'd known Malcolm for years, but I really admired his writing and he edited Jacob Brenn's book. And so
Okay.
I was kind of intimidated to show him my
Yeah,
work.
for
So
sure.
that was part of it. And he
Yeah.
was such a lovely editor. I
So
cannot,
good.
and he designed the cover too. So
Oh yeah, I love the cover. It's great.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
amazing.
yeah.
So it came out 2023, which is sort of at the tail end of COVID. Now
Yeah.
we can gather. Did you have a book launch? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I have kind of some health issues. I have asthma related to my lungs. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty still conservative around what I do. I don't mask all the time, but at that time, it was 2023. I had just moved to Victoria. I'd just gotten a job in 2020, but I didn't move till 2022. So I'm like away from my husband, away from my family. He's eventually going to come, but
Yeah.
I was here and very isolated and always masking and never doing anything social and stuff. So I talked to my husband. I said, I think I sort of, because I'm still very concerned about COVID, but I also think I developed a bit of agoraphobia. So
Oh, yeah.
I so I sort of the launch was like, okay, I'm gonna like leave my house basically. So it got me out.
Nice.
And I did most of my readings masked and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I started opening up and going to restaurants. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it kind of got me back into the world. I was
Nice.
really thinking I
Oh,
was
that's kind of
okay not
lovely.
being in the world.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, my friend Michael V. Smith was going on a book tour, also had a book out with Book Hug. And I'm like, okay, I'll go on the tour. Oh no, I'm not gonna go on the tour. Okay, I'll go. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. So it's really nice. And and I was I was masking for most of the readings and stuff like that, and it was fine. And
yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Amazing.
so it really got me out. And
Yeah.
um yeah, and I yeah, so that was a great experience. So that's why, and then I was prior to that, I'd had a couple of books. I co-authored a chapbook with Gary Barwin, and I co-edited an anthology, a climate anthology. Those all came out in 2020, but I hadn't had a solo book out since 2015.
Okay.
And the whole landscape of publishing had changed. It used to be you just post one thing on Facebook or
Right.
Twitter, and like there wasn't this whole like I don't even think Instagram was that big, or I wasn't on it in
Right.
2015. And I was like, oh, everything's changed. So I knew I wanted to have a newsletter. Like that was part of my thinking. Oh, I should get a newsletter so I can
Let people
publicize
know.
things.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was kind of so I'm very into marketing and book. Like I was going to run my own writing work. I did run my own writing workshops for a while. I
Yeah.
was going to like
Yeah.
create my own school, and then I ended up getting a job. But yeah, so I'm into marketing. And so
Yeah.
then that's why I'm kind of into publicity and stuff. I know a lot
Yeah.
of people hate it, but
Yeah.
it still feels awful. It feels
Does
awful.
it? Do you still
Yeah,
feel like
for
it's
me it
awful?
did.
Yeah.
It feels awful because you have a book out, you're waiting, and you see these lists, and you're not on it, and there's
Right.
78 others,
Right. Meanwhile, how
and you
many
think
millions of
I'm.
books have gone out and there's like the list is like five people or something. Like, of course, you know what I mean? Like we have such expectations.
I know. So it's like, I mean, and the thing is, I don't really care about being on a list like that, but it does. It just feels everything feels
Yeah.
yucky, and so I have to like you have to train yourself to not care
Yeah. Yeah.
and to not like I did not care about like I care about award culture. I don't like
Yeah.
it, and I don't like what it does. I don't like where the money comes from.
Yeah.
I don't like the whole thing. And so I that is not for me a big disappointment if I'm not on an award list or something like that.
Right.
But then it just so happened this book got on but some award finalists and stuff, and
Yeah.
it ended up winning the Victoria Book Award. But so funny, I just that's not something I care about, and so actually I was really uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's so weird because I just that's not really how I like literature to be evaluated and
Right.
stuff like that. So it's very interesting, but just it so but I know for other people that's very important to
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
so you have to cope, like, what are you going to do? I just assumed I was the kind of writer nobody would ever put on a list. So it's just never been, you know what I mean? It just never was an opportunity. It just wasn't anything I'd ever thought about. Like I didn't
Right.
even know what half the things
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
And so which was a good place to be for that. But then I just had a little bit more trouble coping with it.
Right.
Um, but everything feels like personal. Like if and I've talked to writers who are with really in the small press world, independent press world, and I know people who are with, big five, and it's the same feelings.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
higher money,
Yeah,
more
I mean, we
money
love the
involved.
writing, we love that whole process, but yeah, something about I think it's the selling part. It's the transactional part. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how we like I really love Adam Grant's ideas about marketing and being more about relationships and cultivating that lovely part of communicating with people who might be interested in your books and then sharing with them because they might be interested rather than I want you to buy it, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
no one, you
mindset.
want someone to buy it, they don't want to buy it. Do you know,
Yeah,
unless
yeah,
there's some other kind of
yeah,
connection. So if people are like, I think a lot of people think that posting buy my book feels awful. Yeah, it
yeah,
feels awful
yeah,
because nobody buys a book
yeah.
because you tell them to. Like
No,
they're just not going to. In
not
fact,
gonna
it'll
happen.
have the opposite.
Yeah.
But what if you wrote a really funny Facebook post or tweet or something? No, we don't tweet anymore, but the you know, a note on some or
Yeah,
something on social media that you enjoy writing, and then it
right.
shows your personality. Then someone might go and take a second look. Or if you
Yeah,
write an article, you know, like in my publicity series, I didn't again intend it because I don't think things through, but I'm like, oh, I'm actually book publicity. I'm doing more book publicity because
yeah,
I'm talking about my experience with my book
yeah,
publicity. I should put my book at the end of this. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I thought of
100%.
that after.
Yes.
And then I'm also using it. I like to use my site to fundraise for different organizations that I care about. And so I also use it for that as well. And I put like donation links. So and I kind of sometimes think about these after I've gone ahead. Like I just like I go full steam ahead, then I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, what am I doing here? So
yeah,
in fact, I am doing publicity by
yeah.
talking about it, but I didn't even realize it. That wasn't like my intent. Really, what my intent was, a friend of mine is having a book come out next year, and I was like just giving her some tips over the phone, and I was like, oh, maybe I should write these out because what if I
Yes.
have another book one day and I'll forget, or maybe you know it because small, you know, just to help out independent authors,
Yeah.
small press authors. Um, but it really can be for anyone because, again, with the big five, sometimes if your book isn't the it book,
Mm-hmm.
you you feel invisible.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And I feel like the kinds of tips you gave are such that um they don't feel icky. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
feels like you would do the things that feel good for you. You
yeah,
would like if you don't like being on social media, don't be on social media. Like
yeah.
it feels like a no-brainer, and yet that we have so much pressure from, or we have perceived pressure, I guess, that
Hmm.
we should be doing this or that, the other thing. But I just love the idea that, do the things that feel good for you and authentic to you, and it won't feel like selling it'll, or or even marketing. It's just, it feels like you're connecting with people. That makes
Yeah.
so much sense
And
to
I
me.
see people who aren't on social media and suddenly they get an account and then you're like, oh, you have a book coming out
Yes.
and then they follow me and I'm like, okay, this is going to be transactional. You know what I mean? Like if you
Um,
know you're a writer, you should have a social media account
yeah,
and
yeah,
be, I mean, if you don't like it,
yeah,
then don't be on it. But it's not going to help you 3 months before your
yeah,
book comes out to suddenly be posting about your book
yeah, for
and
sure.
not engaging
Yeah,
meaningfully. Like if you're going to do it, you have to care about other people
yeah,
too
for sure.
and support other people. Like this sort of organic thing kind of happened, and it happens to me quite often. Is I generally will there'll be a writer I'm kind of interested in, and but when you're in book season, I kind of think of them as siblings. Doesn't matter if they're at the same press or not. And then it's like,
Yeah,
oh, we're going through this. We have to share all this awful stuff. I'm
yes,
going to start sharing your stuff. And then they
yes,
started sharing mine. And there were about 5 or 6 writers. We were kind of doing that. And it was this sort of unspoken, like, yes, this is hell, but why
yeah,
not be in it together? And then
that's right.
you're uplifting yourself and other people. And I mean, it happens time and again. I was on TikTok for a while and I realized TikTok isn't for me because I don't like being on video.
Right.
But in the meantime, I had met Tim Blackett and Lillian Nattel, and and they became friends. And Tim had me on his podcast. I invited him to my class. Lillian and I met in real life in Toronto. Like you can actually, and it was just we were kind of these like Canadians in the wild of TikTok. Now
Right.
I think they've kept up their accounts. I just totally dropped out. I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, I was trying to be someone I wasn't,
yeah,
and it
right.
didn't feel good.
Yeah,
And it ended up, and then I realized, oh, I'm just a passive consumer on TikTok. I just like to watch the videos. I don't want to create them. And so
for sure.
I did make connection, and I'm sure if I stuck it out longer or tried or whatever, but when it didn't feel right,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
don't do it.
Yeah.
So then I was like, no, Substack is way better for me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a text-based person. I like to, it's a platform. I can do my literary journal stuff. I can support people, but then also do my own. So anyways, that ended up being a
Yeah.
much
And then
better fit.
you is that pretty much where you put most of your energy in terms of like I want to say marketing, but all the things, right? Like because it's there's
Yeah.
so much more than just, social media on Substack. But is that or are
Yeah.
you still on other social media platforms at this stage?
I still am like it's weird. Like the dying person who comes alive just before they're about to die. I was gonna delete my Facebook and then suddenly I started using it again. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I was like this big announcement. I'm like, I'd become one of those people. And then I started using it again. And I was like, okay, I'm trying not to use it. And then I'm like, but there are people who I'll totally miss. And so then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just keep my account and not use it. And then Instagram was like the main social promotion.
Yeah.
Like that's where most of the literary community is for me. Um, and where my publisher like they send out the book to a bunch of influencers. This is like the key, I think, like, and I don't know how much it costs, but it I think it's the best thing. I thought it was totally like a fake thing, but it's not. They send it out to influencers and then they'll post about the book and then you share and it just creates a little buzz, even though I said to I think it was to Gary, he's like, "Oh, your book's doing really well." And I'm like, "Oh, it's all smoke and mirrors." And he's like, "I think that's called marketing."
Love it.
And the book influencers, I mean, they're not going to post what they're not interested
Right.
in,
That's
so
true.
there is something that's real there. But I was like, yeah, anyways, it was sort of funny. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I guess that is what you do. You're marketing, you want
Yeah.
people to share, and
That's
yeah,
right.
if
Yeah.
they've targeted the right influencers,
Yeah.
then they would know that what they would like and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So that was really effective. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are leaving Meta, so I don't know if you have like I know you have a book. Do you
Yeah,
have a book
I
coming
have
out?
two
Yeah,
books. I have one
coming
um
in.
hopefully in 2026. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing with Facebook and Instagram. I pretty much was on everything and then slowly went, okay, I can't be on all the things. So I just picked the two that I felt same, like a lot of literary folks on Instagram, and then Facebook happens to have a lot of family and friends. And that's why I'm
Mhm.
resisting leaving because I'm like, that's how I connect to people in Finland and Australia and various places. So there's reasons to stay, and yet, I kind of just want to leave all that behind. But I've kind of gone off everything else, got rid of
Yeah.
LinkedIn, and not that they're not good platforms, but it's just about spending less time on all the things and putting more energy into like I really enjoy Substack. I want to be there. I feel like there's
Yeah.
community there. And then Instagram and Facebook are just different purposes, I guess, how I'm using them.
Yeah, and then I did join Blue Sky. Like I am a
Oh
heavy
yeah.
social media user.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, so I do say if you don't like social media, don't use it. And I don't use ones I don't like.
Right.
But and then I joined Blue Sky and it's okay. It's not quite the same as Twitter, but
Yeah.
often because I do publish other people, I find it's really effective to
Yeah.
have social media. Um, but I feel yucky with all the meta stuff and I would like to cut it off, but I'm not quite ready to cut off.
Yeah.
I'm quite political and I get a lot of my news and stuff from Instagram, and there's a lot of activist groups on there, and so it to cut all that off right
Yeah.
now isn't really great for
Yeah.
me. Um but so anyways, most of my energy and time is spent on Substack though. Like
Yeah.
I have the others, they're there. I've lessened my involvement, and but I think the thing is you always have to be willing to move,
Mm-hmm.
and the platforms are always going to be owned by people
Yeah.
who might not. I mean, Substack's trying to say they're an alternative. It has had some criticism,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is there are terrible people on all the platforms, and
Sure.
usually the owners end up being terrible
Right.
and ruining the world. So I just
Right.
kind of am like, look to the future. Like
Yes.
I seem to be really good. like finding the next thing,
Yes.
like, and so I just kind of follow sort of, so nobody was on Substack in 2021 who I knew. And then, but like I was there alone
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And then now people are coming to it. So I just seem to be good at predicting. And then Blue Sky, I was on a year before other people
Yeah.
joined and stuff like that. So you just kind of have to be open, not get too
Yeah.
tied into one, and make sure that you're always kind of moving a bit, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're on an old platform
Yeah.
and you're trying to, connect with other writers and they're not there anymore. And then you have to start all over again,
Yeah.
because it takes
Exactly.
about a year to build
Yeah. It
if you're
does take
following
time.
people and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like with Substack, like you said, you can take your newsletter list with you. And
yeah.
so it's not gone. Of
Yeah.
course, you should keep that backed up so that you have
Yeah.
the
I
list, but you
know.
never
And
know.
I know that's the thing. I did do a backup. Like
Yeah.
I should have reminders in my
Yeah.
calendar, because yeah, they keep saying that, but I don't know if the whole thing goes down or
I
something.
know. Yeah.
I don't
Anything
want
can
to
happen.
lose my list. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
I'm ready to leave at any time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to, right now is the heyday, and I know there's a lot of hit pieces on Substack because other journals are, the Atlantic and stuff, are feeling the pressure. Because yeah, I'm following Rachel Gilmore, CTV, screw you. You're not
Yeah.
even like letting her, ha
Yeah. Crazy.
have a segment on your show. Fine, I'll pay for her and
Yeah.
get her news.
Yeah.
She's an amazing journalist. So,
Yeah.
people are looking at alternative,
Yeah.
and these are journalists. They're not like
Yeah.
untrained.
Exactly. Yeah. And
So,
I mean, it's one of those places where I mean, haven't done a really deep dive into all the different categories on Substack, but I
yeah,
think you can pretty much find anything you're interested in. If you
yeah,
like gardening, you can find people who
yeah,
garden. If you like baking
yeah,
cupcakes, there's somebody doing
yeah,
newsletters on that. Like
yeah,
there's everything is there if you want to explore
yeah.
and find it. But
Yeah. And again, they have a lot of like I follow a lot of political
yeah,
stuff. There's a lot, and yeah, so, and nothing censored. So I
yeah,
appreciate it for that. So again, yes, that Summit, like I feel complicit by using Meta, but I also don't want to cut myself off from community.
yes,
Yeah, it's a very
it's hard.
complicated thing, and then I need it, in order to share stuff. But for those of you, for people who really hate social media, I would say the best thing to do is just have a website and have people be able to sign up to any kind of
Yeah.
newsletter. I don't want to seem like I'm in a Substack cult.
No, no, it's true.
I
Yeah,
will leave it at
100%.
any minute. I have
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
loyalty.
That's exactly. It could be. Yeah,
But
and
it's
I
good
love that
right
idea.
now.
Yeah, it's
It's
good
good
right
right now, but
now.
like any kind, if you don't want to do it or whatever, for whatever reason, some people
Yeah,
don't like it. There's Beehive, there's
yeah.
Ghost, there's MailChimp.
Yes.
Most websites, like I use
Yep.
Weebly for my website, you can do a newsletter there. Like the
Yep.
main thing is you have to collect email addresses,
Yes.
because the people who would sign up for your email are people who would most likely be
Yeah.
interested in your writing.
Yeah. Agreed. And like
And
you
you,
said earlier, that idea of having like on social media, don't wait till a couple months before your book is out.
yeah,
Start now while you're working on your book, or like even before, even if you just have an idea, like just start communicating and making connections, right? Then it feels lovely. Like in fact, I find on the social media platforms I've been on, really very few negative interactions, like almost nothing, because I'm just like, it's all almost writers and readers, like just the
yeah,
loveliest people in the world. And I
yeah,
mean, I'm not engaging in a lot of political things myself, so I think that's where things can get a little bit more
yeah,
dicey
yeah.
with who's following you. But yeah, it's just fun of trying to create something that's positive for you and that you like doing.
There's another writer, Sam, I think it's Weeb. I'm not quite sure how to say his
Okay.
last name, but um, uh, anyway, he's like a crime writer, and he sometimes does workshops. I don't write crime, but I'm sometimes kind of interested. I don't know. I'm interested in what he does,
Yeah.
and it's a personal newsletter, and um uh what's the word, infrequent, doesn't come out that
Right.
much. He might be selling a course sometime, and then, but I'm like, well, I run into lots of writers. I would tell them about it. I might
Yeah,
not take the course,
for
but
sure.
I'm still like interested in what he's doing. So sometimes people think, right, like you have to do it all the time. That you
Right.
have to, like you have to be like the way we are and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what that's not really what you have. You
Yeah.
can do it at it can be infrequent, and in fact,
Yeah.
infrequency is better,
Yeah. It's
I think.
interesting, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And make it comfortable for you and doable and
Yeah.
hopefully not like onerous. Like you're not
Yeah.
feeling like I have to do this or, and then feel bad because you're not
Yeah.
into it. I I think if you're not enjoying it, then what are we doing? Like you got to
Yes,
find joy in the
exactly.
things we're choosing at this stage?
Yeah, and I like social media. I like writing on Substack. It keeps me writing. I like
Yeah.
meeting new people. I like, saying, hello, other writers,
Yeah.
come here and, let's support each other. Like I enjoy those things. Some writers do not enjoy any of that.
Yeah.
And so you don't need to do that. That's not the model for you. I just like
Right.
don't start a literary journal. It's like
Yeah.
actually counterintuitive to
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Yeah.
So don't do it then. But everybody could get a website
Yeah.
and collect email addresses because at the very least, you want people to come to your launch.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That email list. I think I probably had heard that advice, I don't know, 15 years ago. And I sort of heard it, but I didn't understand
Yeah,
it. Like I did, like, what am I going to do
yeah,
with the email list? Now I understand it because people are letting you into their inbox. Like it's such a
yeah.
lovely thing. And I mean, you can post on social media, but will it even get in front of their eyes? Like how many times do you have to post before somebody actually
That's the
comes
other thing. That's the
around?
problem. Yeah,
Whereas when you post something, a newsletter, it's coming into their inbox and will they read it? Will they open it? That's a whole other story.
yeah,
But um, there's a much better chance that they'll actually see what you wrote and have
yeah,
some kind of connection to it and then like you say come to a launch or go to a bookstore or come to a
yeah.
reading or so yeah it's now I understand the power of the newsletter that I just didn't quite get back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do one for this journal I used to run called The Rusty Toque, and I would do a similar kind of thing. Like whenever we had an issue, I'd do a kind of roundup of all the things that I had published. So I had a huge list from that. But as you know, you can't take one list and use it. And then I had a pretty decent email list for my writing workshops because I was gonna well I did do it for a couple of years. I ran my own kind of
Right.
creative writing workshops. And so that's when I kind of studied marketing and everything and knew the power of this. So I had a really great, but again, I couldn't take those lists. Like you can send one email, invite people to sign up and they sign up or they don't.
Hopeful,
And then
yeah,
you
that's
have to
it.
leave them alone.
Yes.
And so I think I came to Substack with about a list of only, 150 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
So
started
even though I
fresh.
had these other, yeah, it
Yeah,
started
and
right.
now
And
it's gigantic list you have.
well, it's gigantic.
Well,
It's about
not compared to maybe some of the
2,100.
American journalists
No,
who have
but
millions.
2,100, yeah. I'm at
Yeah.
about 2,100. And you know what? I don't really want to grow anymore. I'm more
Yeah.
interested in engagement. Like I don't really
Yeah.
care, but I think I would I wouldn't want to have a huge list because then you're having to interact with a bunch of people.
Right, right,
Like,
right. The workload is, I mean, if it's smaller and
yeah.
you're interacting, it feels lovely but when it's so many, it might become overwhelming and then it will feel
Yeah, I
like
think,
real work.
yeah, and then you have to really lock down your comments and things like
Yes.
that. That's
Yeah.
the only thing I would lock
It's a
down. Like
good
all my
point.
Yeah, but right now it's very manageable. I'm meeting people. Someone I met who lives in Victoria and
Yeah.
just is also a writer. So it's just very nice right now. I don't really desire like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
in
not
the
the end goal
thousands.
is
That's not the end goal. It's
yeah.
more like connection, sharing, shared values, that kind of thing is what
Yeah,
I'm
for
mostly
sure.
interested in.
Well, I
Yeah.
love what you're doing with us send my love to anyone with the Canlit community is kind of
Mhm.
gathering them up and
Yeah.
okay, let's support each other. And that's really
Yeah.
lovely because there's, I don't know, are there like 5 million I don't know what the stat was, 5 million subscribers on Substack or something. And so like you're like, where are the Canadians? So you're kind of
And
gathering
they
them,
don't
which is
have to
so
be
great.
Canadian. Well, yeah, I would like more Canadian writers, but even
Yeah.
just like any small, any
Yeah.
literary writer,
Literary writers.
there's
Yes.
where there seems to be a lot of like the health and wellness industry.
Yes. Yeah.
That seems to be really like a lot. There's a lot in there, and I follow some too, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a little hard finding other
Yeah.
literary writers. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm happy to find Canadian writers, but also
Yes.
like any
Any
independent,
lit writers. Yeah.
any literary writers
Yeah.
is good
Absolutely.
because yeah, it's just the same thing happened on TikTok. It was just like there were so many, like a lot of genre, well, not that genre can't be literary, but just like a lot
Yes.
of like romance and stuff, writers and
Right.
stuff. And so I was just finding trying to find people, who are small press publishing, and that's
Yeah.
how I found, and Lillian Nattell is not, she's
Mm.
big
Yes.
five, but just just writers doing literary writing in Canada.
Yeah.
So that was very cool
Yeah.
to meet those people. But I'm feeling that same thing, like I know you're out there.
That's right.
We can,
You're
and you know
there.
what? I'm gonna every week. I'm good. I don't know how Sarah Faye does the notes challenge every day. I'm just doing one a week, and you
Yep.
can post as many times. I think I said
Yeah.
four initially, but that's like
Yeah.
really just
Yeah.
post as
No, it's
many
a
times as
great
you want.
idea. Yeah.
Because then it's like the smoking pit, I used to smoke
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when I was a teenager, and we always had the smoking pit. It's like, you know what? Even if only five of us are doing it, at
Yeah.
least I'll know when
That's
five
right.
people put their posts in. So thank you
Yeah.
for participating. I
Oh,
really
no, it's so
appreciate it.
fun. No, I'm glad you did
Yeah,
that. It was lovely. And I'm starting to recognize names that keep popping up,
yeah,
right? And so yeah,
yeah.
another opportunity to connect with those folks because like
Oh,
you
yeah,
say, you kind of sometimes wonder, well, and even like for me as a historical fiction writer,
yeah,
I mean, that's needle in a haystack sometimes. I feel
yeah.
like they're out there, but where are you?
Lillian Nattell is one.
Okay, I'll have to connect with
Yeah,
Lillian.
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
She's wonderful. She's an amazing
Amazing.
writer, and she's a great Substack. And I think she might be posting in there as well. But look her up. I
I
forget the name
will.
of her Substack, but she's doing a series of women around the world,
Oh, I
and
love
she's
that.
writing or she's reading books and then does reviews, and
Oh,
that's
I'd
how
love
I
to
found
see
her
that.
on TikTok. Her reviews are so great.
I love
She's
that.
so yeah, I loved the way she talked about books, and
Amazing.
then she's writing about them as well. So
Awesome.
and then she's also a novelist, and yeah, it's really really cool person.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so she's on there, and Amanda Earl is another
Hmm.
uh, writer who's
Yeah.
pretty using Hubstack, has a really great Substack, and is also engaging. Yeah, so
Amazing.
we're there.
There,
We're doing
yeah,
there some.
yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked a ton about Substack, but I think
Yeah,
it's sort of a great platform for us at this moment in time. And
yeah,
I mean, I personally would love to see more Canadians coming
yeah.
over there to not like to write, but if you're not a writer, there's just so much valuable,
To
lovely
read.
things to read, right? And people serialize their books, and you can read a chapter a
Yeah,
week or whatever it is. And I mean, there's New York Times cartoonist is on, like, there's so many incredible things coming out of there that's,
yeah,
in the old days, you'd get your newspaper into your house and you'd read it
yeah,
and now we can get these great newsletters that we've kind of curated the list that we want to read. And
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of fun. Are you working on anything right now that's, what's happening for
Yeah,
your writing?
I'm working on a couple of things. I'm kind of going back to screenwriting again, so I'm kind of working on a feature idea, and then I'm also working on uh, I yeah, kind of a novel. It's going to be probably, I think I seem to like to name my books. This was Anecdotes. I think I'm writing a novel called Fragments. And
Okay.
that will be a series of fragments, but it
There's a
hasn't
theme
quite.
happening here. It's
There's
good.
a theme happening here. I think maybe I'll have a subtitle or something for it, but I was like, oh yeah, I think I like Fragments. So I'm actually reading a novel. I'm trying to read some work
Yeah.
that uses fragments and
Yeah.
um yeah, so I'm so something like that's
Love that.
coming, and then I always kind of pick away at like flash fiction and
Yeah.
short
Yeah.
fiction. So yeah, again, I probably, have about 10 different projects, but those are the ones that are kind of bubbling up.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
in this space of I feel like I've just recovered from the book. I think that's why it takes a lot out of you.
It does.
Uh, I realize it takes a lot
Yeah.
out of me. Maybe people really like it. I find it very hard. And the other thing about that is, oh, your publicity doesn't have to be 3 months. It can be 2 years. And I think it should
Right.
be 2 years plus.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
a lot you can continue to do. Like
Yeah.
and if you're still kind of marketing it for yourself, people still think it's new,
Yeah,
even
for
though
sure.
like my book's like 2 years old now and I'm
Yeah.
still doing things for it. So,
Right.
so if you kind of, instead of looking at it like I used to look like, oh, you have to do everything in 3 months and then it's
Yeah.
over. It's
Right.
actually like 2 to 3 years. I think
Yeah.
you can keep,
And I think that's the missing piece for like the education around marketing your book. We get a lot of like what to do a year out and 6 months and 3 months and like the week leading up and then it's kind of like a couple months after and then it sort of stops. I would love to know, okay, what are people doing a year 2 years later? Like, what are they trying? How do they keep it present? Because by that point, your publisher has like moved on to the next new thing. They're like they have limited resources and limited time.
oh, of course,
And
of
so it's
course.
really on us, right, to figure
Yeah.
out what the next thing is. So I think that kind of information would be so valuable for writers
And,
to
and I think
consider.
too, the reason I don't like award culture is people are like, well, if your book doesn't get
Right.
list, then it's over.
Right.
And the thing is like, really? Like you're gonna like let some random I was on the Canada Council poetry jury last year. Like there's a lot of good books that didn't get
Right.
on there, like
Yes.
it would be heartbreaking. You're basically it's a consensus building
Yes. It
exercise.
is.
And there really is no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no it
Yeah.
is somewhat random, it's subjective, it's based on who's happens to be in the group. And
That's right.
so it's kind of same with like Canada Council grants. Like it really doesn't determine how good your book is. And so
Agree.
if you are letting this like completely random subjective thing determine your book's value, is like heartbreaking.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So
I was,
why would you do that? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, so
I
like you
agree.
just have to think of what, if you don't care if you sell books, if like it's like why do you want to, maybe you don't want to sell books, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But the person it should matter the most to is you.
Yeah. That's true. And all the years
And
that you put into it, right? You
yeah.
spend years writing a book and now it's out there and it's sad if you just kind of let it go and hope for the
Yeah, but
best.
I think what happens is people feel shame if they don't get the response
Yeah.
that they want, and then they internalize that, and then that prevents you from doing
Right.
things.
Right.
And so what I'm trying to do with that series is like you will feel bad. You
Yeah.
will feel left out. You will feel excluded. It will feel like that
Right.
baseball team that you didn't get picked on or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And but just because you feel bad doesn't mean you need to treat your marketing that way.
Right. 100%.
So
Love
it's
that.
like it is, it's not to be fake, but usually if you lift up other people, you lift yourself up too.
That's true.
And so if you feel bad promoting yourself, then promote other people. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
I promote other people, and then usually, and not that it's a tit for a tat, but
Right.
it comes back in some way,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
You
Putting
don't,
good out into the universe and it lifts
yeah,
you
you put it
up.
out into the universe, and then sometime and things like how we've interacted, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not like a tip for a tat. But there's yeah, you just
Yeah.
there's a connection, and you make it, that's why
Agree.
I don't, networking isn't a bad thing. It's only
No,
if you have like nefarious
that's right.
thing, but it's a good thing. It's like it's showing up for people,
Yeah.
supporting people.
And you want
um
to, like, that's the thing. Like you want to have those conversations. You want to support
yeah.
somebody, from that,
Yeah.
it's like you say, it's not about feeling an obligation or any of those things. It's like
Yeah.
you actually, like, I love that writing. I mean, I suppose some people might have a different perspective on this, but in my
Yeah.
mind, writing is not a competitive sport. It's we're
No.
all on the same team and we're all like just supporting each other. And when I look at it that way, then I just want everyone to do well. Like I just want everyone's books to do great. Like I just want
Yeah.
that for everybody. I want them to have that feeling. And even if it doesn't, like you say, win an award or sell well or whatever,
Yeah.
that they are proud of it and they feel good about it. So
Yeah.
I think it's all just changing your mindset
It
about
is a
some of this stuff.
mindset thing. Yeah, and also thinking about, well, who do you want to like, who'd you write the book for? Who would you want to have read this? Whose
Yeah.
mind do you want to, change over that?
Yeah.
And then try and think, what are the creative ways I could,
Yeah.
meet those people?
Right.
Or there can be so if you start thinking about that, then it's not about whether someone likes or
Yeah.
like the doesn't like the writing. Now, I really just didn't care about awards. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like
Yeah. Fair.
on my radar. And so but I still wanted people to like write about the book or
Yeah. For
connect or, you
sure.
know what I mean? So I'm not saying I wasn't like impacted if you weren't included. I think I write in the newsletter, like there was this list of 78. It's like if it was a list of five, I wouldn't have cared,
Right.
or even
Yeah.
30. But when you're not on a list of
Yeah.
78 short fiction, your book comes
Where is
out.
it?
It's a little, demoralizing, and it's just there's and those lists I'm sure are pretty random anyway, but and they don't really matter. But it's like there's just all these little moments of
Yeah.
humiliation that
Right.
happen, and then nobody wants to talk about them because they feel embarrassed that
Yeah.
they bought in, or they feel shame that somebody didn't, you know. But I feel like I kind of come from an okay place. Like my book did better than I expected. Did a good job, but it wasn't like the best book in the world. It didn't like change my life. The
Yeah.
millions are not coming in, but it did better than I expected. But I still, through the process, felt terrible.
Yeah.
But I still did things anyway.
Yeah. For
Like
sure.
when I made this video, my publisher had me make a video, and something had happened. I felt so bad about this book. I was so bad, but I just
Ah,
decided to have
yeah.
fun with the video, and then the video did really well. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just like you can make, and I just made that myself. And I think a lot of publishers are realizing we don't have to wait for everything. Like
Right.
book had you write lists, things, and influence things. And so if nobody's giving their writers any attention, they're going to put it out in the blog too.
Right.
So
Right.
they, you know what I mean? There's always, it's not like the old days where you were in the Globe and Mail or nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
There
And
are,
there's
and
so many,
then,
yeah, there's so few actual book reviewers now. Like there's the influencers, but it's kind of a different
yeah,
game
yeah,
but
yeah.
the book reviewers in Canada, there's kind of not that many anymore. So yeah, I mean, it's great that us as writers, but also the publishers, the small presses can find
Do
ways to reach
something. Yeah.
audiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to have
So
fun with it.
there's just a lot that you can do on your own. And then even I wasn't again strategizing, but I was really curious about book orders, like pre-orders. So I'm like, oh, am I supposed to be getting pre-orders? I don't get understand it. So I started asking around, and then I ended up um interviewing online a bunch of booksellers and people. So then I wrote this pre-order post. This was like the year that my book came out, and then like it got shared really wildly, and then I didn't realize it, but I like connected with booksellers. Well, that's what you
Right.
want to do
Right.
because they're the ones who are
Right.
going to put the books in the
Right.
store. And then I'm supporting independent
That's
booksellers, and then
right.
I'm actually indirectly
Yeah.
publicizing myself. So it starts with the cure. For me, like somebody else might be able to plan this a bit better.
Right.
For me, it's like I'm a bit kind of weird and clueless. And then I'm like, oh, I just did something that was really beneficial. I helped
Yes.
other people learn about pre-orders. I got a few small independent bookstores to be aware of my book, and then I was publicizing myself
Yeah.
without kind of realizing it. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's just, I wish I could be a little more in control of my mind,
But I
but
feel like now you
uh,
have all of those experiences from what you've already gone through and how you
yeah,
stumbled across these amazing ideas
yeah,
that, and you're now sharing them with us. So
yeah,
that's great because I mean, you imagine that with all the number of presses out there who are, and authors who are all going through the same things, you'd think we'd have like some gigantic master list of, okay, these are things you can try. And yet really
yeah.
there's not. I think everyone's
There
just
isn't.
stumbling around.
No, and then the problem is when if you start thinking about it when your book comes out, then you're dealing with all these emotions that are unhelpful to the
Mhm.
process.
True.
And so that's why if you know other people feel shitty, no one wants to admit. Everybody's
Yes.
like, "Yay, my book, my
Yeah.
book." No one's gonna say
Yeah.
like now that my book's over, I can say, yeah, during that whole time, like
Yes.
I
Yeah.
felt
Let's be
horrible.
honest about it. Right.
Yeah, like it does not feel good, but just
Yeah.
because you don't feel good doesn't mean your
Yeah.
book's not good. It's not worthy of you putting time into it. And I
Yes.
know a lot of people resent having to do this kind of thing, but I don't unless you're even people who have big publishers and big agents, they still have to do this stuff. They
Hmm.
still worry about
Yeah.
getting opportunities. So I think it's just part of it. Like I
Yeah.
just don't think
Great.
we can all be Thomas Pynchon, you
Yeah.
know.
It's a great, like, it's just a whole other landscape than,
Was a book coming out,
whatever.
by the way. I
Oh, there
just
you
saw
go.
it.
I
Yeah.
like that. Just,
No,
yeah. This is you,
yeah.
literary citizen, writing it there.
Yes, I know. I know. I like Thomas Pynchon,
That's
but
amazing.
um uh but but yeah, like he's able to, be a total, be away or
Yeah.
from all the media, but most of us don't have that. And
Yeah.
the other thing I like to do is, because I'm someone who's still COVID cautious, because I'm understanding like it's people who have various life situations. It could
Mhm.
be family related. It could be to do with disability. Like not everybody can get out in public.
That's true. Hmm.
And I kind of clued in late to the podcast world, but
Right.
I think in some ways that's more effective
Yeah.
than, I
Well,
mean, it's different going to a
yeah.
bookstore, two people buy
Sure.
your book,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Sure. And I think, well, there's that. And just even during COVID, there was a lot of book launches that happened online, like on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just ways, if you're creative, to figure out how you can connect with people and how
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah, it's not
and
always about
yeah,
being in person.
that's
Like it can,
it.
I think I think like if you can't, like I did do a thing about, how I did a book tour or how to make it a bit cheaper or how
Yeah.
to, if you can't travel, are there bookstores in your city? Can you
Yeah.
arrange to do things with them? And sometimes you'll be rejected too. Like me and Michael got rejected from all the bookstores in Victoria, except for the anarchist bookstore, which we thought
Yeah.
was very
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's where we launched our book at
Yes.
it was great. But it just we'd done it too late and this one bookstore said, "Oh, not if you're not a fit for us." And anyway,
Oh,
um and but so you will there's so much rejection along the way. But like if we
yeah.
thought, oh, this one bookstore didn't like, maybe the cover of my book or that his book was called Queers Like Me, like me, who knows why they could have just said we're booked. I don't know why they but anyway, but you again, it just that's what I mean, but you take it personally.
Yeah.
And then we found a place that was
Yeah.
like perfect for us and
Yeah.
and it yeah, so it's just you're good. There's all these little humiliations along the
Yeah.
way. Unless I'm just completely unlucky. I
No.
don't know. People don't talk about this,
I
but
think that you're absolutely bang on. And I just think that we should have these conversations because there's this perception like if you write this book and you publish it, oh, like it's just like the
yeah,
heavens open up and it's and others will say, oh, you published a book, like it's the most amazing thing. And yet you personally, like you say, there's this all these little rejections and you didn't get this gig and you didn't get that speaking
yeah,
thing. And like it can be really, really hard. And I think we should celebrate the wins but also recognize that it's not like I always say you have to enjoy the writing and the process and love that part because that little book launch when you have it feels great for that couple of hours
yeah,
and then it's
yeah,
done, right? Like
yeah,
it's not, you can't sustain that feeling you have on your book launch day or whatever
No.
for the next 2 years. Like it's going to be up and
Yeah.
down. So like I just
Yeah.
really appreciate that you're so open about this because I think we all go through it, and
Yeah.
understanding that will make it easier that okay, I'm not alone here. you know?
Yeah. Well, it started when I did film actually, because I went to the film center and I had a couple short films, and these were really high quality production films through the film center. I was the writer and other people directed them. And they got into a bunch of festivals, but the two that I the two that I worked on didn't get into the TIFF. And
Okay.
so I perceived that that was a failure, the Toronto Film Festival. That was the one we were aiming for, but it got into a whole bunch of festivals in Canada. It got into a ton of international, the two films
Yeah.
got into a ton of international films. And in my mind, I had always thought that somehow I had failed the films, I
Oh,
didn't write them well, and they were too bad. And then I was applying for a Canada Council grant through the Canada Council, and I hadn't put together my application properly. And the grant officer, I don't know if they still do this, but he
yeah.
called me and he said, "Oh, something I had sent in wasn't right, but it was something that I could easily fix." And he was like, "I don't know why you're not putting in the script for this film because it did so well in the festival circuit." And I'm like, "What do you mean it did well in the festival circuit?" He's like, and then when I was a Canada Council grant person, when I was one
Right.
of the judges, I looked at the mid-career things, and people would have maybe 5 or 10 festivals, not like 25.
Yeah.
And it had been nominated for award. These films had been nominated for awards and stuff. And I was like, well, wasn't that a big interesting thing? Like I thought these films were failures and
It's
successes.
so interesting.
And it was like, it was just so it would have been if that grant officer just if I
Yeah.
hadn't had a mistake in my application and he hadn't had to call me, I never would have known.
Yeah. Isn't that
Uh,
interesting how our own perceptions of whatever it is we think is
yeah.
success, whatever that looks like to
Hmm.
us, and then everything else can fall away from that and go, oh well, it didn't go well, but it did. Like
Yeah, but
amazing.
it did go well. And so then I was like, so when I had so that was before I had my first book out. And then when I got my first book out, I really tempered. I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
enjoy every bit of attention.
Amazing.
Everything's going to be a win. And so it did help me have that kind of attitude. But at that time, that was 2011. Things online weren't quite so intense. There
Right.
weren't these listicles of books. I knew my book was not going to be getting in the Toronto Star reviewed and stuff like. So again, I kind of knew it was a debut book. I didn't, I was with a small press. I really tempered my expectations, and so if anybody reviewed it, I was really
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
And there were a few blogs were kind of popular, so a few people wrote about it on blogs. I think Lemon Hound, and so it got, again, it didn't get. I think it got longlisted for the REELit Award. I think that was it.
Yeah.
And I was so thrilled about that. And then other than that, no award lists, a couple reviews, few speaking engagements, and that was it. And I was thrilled.
Yeah.
And so because of that other experience, I just learned like just be thrilled with whatever
Yes.
happens. I just
Yeah.
wanted to have a book out. I feel really good about it.
Yeah.
So that and then yeah, so anyways, that kind of helped me temper really helped me out of buying into a word
Yeah.
culture.
Amazing. Yeah. And that's, I mean, and
And
that,
that I think is really what sickens people, to
yeah,
be
no, I think
honest.
it's true. But I think too, like that whole, like if somebody receives an award or whatever it is,
Yeah,
that like okay, so it's good that there maybe more eyeballs are aware of the work. Great.
yeah,
Like it's a good thing in that sense, but apart from that, don't let it define define you. Like,
yeah,
and even the
yeah,
your publications, you can't really let them define you as a writer either because we're constantly writing. Like we're working on the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So, I mean, that's part of our life, but not the our
yeah,
life, right? Like the success or not of any particular one piece when we're
yeah.
writing, and learning all the time.
Yeah, and Gary Barwin has a wonderful essay on Some I Loved Anyone that he wrote. for me, and it was all about like, how do you deal with success? How are you writing? Because he had the Yiddish for Pirates, uh did phenomenally well. Was, yeah, I think it was shortlisted for the Giller, and he had all kinds of attention, and it was and he had been working in the small press for, I can't remember who published it, but he'd been working in the small press for like 25 years, and they were basically treating him like he was a debut because now he was in the big
Yes,
times, and he's
right.
in the big times. And so what's so lovely about Gary is that he's never forgotten his small press roots,
Yeah.
and he co-writes with so many different writers around Canada, and does chapbooks and collections and stuff like that. But I really love this piece that he wrote, because it's all just about like, okay, all his dreams came true, and then how do you write your next book?
Yeah.
And
Now what?
how do you separate, that's another problem. It's like a good problem to have,
Yes.
but he also had to really yeah, to ground himself, and
Yeah.
temper
Yeah.
expectations, and things like that. So success can be actually a bit, hard
Yeah.
as well. Like, it can be
Yeah.
good, everybody wants it, and then until it's you, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
how. And so anyways, I recommend that. It's
Yeah.
on Substack, and
I'll definitely
yeah,
look for that.
yeah.
Elizabeth Gilbert had a TED talk about writing after Eat, Pray, Love,
Oh yeah,
and knowing that you have probably written the book that you'll never do better than that book, and now but you're wanting to continue writing, like knowing that everything's downhill from there. Like, okay,
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of an overwhelming feeling and a heaviness that in a different way than somebody
yeah,
who's feeling unsuccessful, right? There's
yeah.
um everyone's going to have issues no matter
We have
whether.
hope. We
Yeah,
still have the
right,
hope, right? But
right.
once you've kind of made it, like,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
do
And
you?
then I mean, yeah, there's probably lots of examples of that where folks, write the one big thing and then everything after that is, well,
Yeah,
okay. I mean,
yeah.
there's are lots who do well, but I don't know. There's so many challenges throughout this process, but it's still bringing you joy. You still love it.
Writing.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I think the thing I like the least is having the book into the world. I like writing it. Of course, I want things to be published, and
Yes.
I want things to connect with
Yeah.
people, but it's very, even though it seems like it's not difficult for me, I find the whole marketing. That's why I study it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
Smart.
difficult for me.
And that's the
And
business
then,
end of it, right? The writing is the creative end, the part that we love,
yeah,
and then the other part is the business mindset and the other hat that we have to
yeah.
wear. And you can be creative about that, but it's just a
And I
different
like
skill
that.
set.
Like, I do like that part. Like, I
Yeah.
don't all it's more the in-person stuff that I
Right.
find exhausting, but
Yeah.
I do like connecting with people. I
Yeah.
do like I've always been a bit of a herder kind of
Nice.
person. Like,
Yeah.
I do like engaging. I just find it's just not one thing though. It just is. I can like parts of it. Parts are exhausting. I can feel good sometimes and then feel terrible when you feel like you've tried. Like, there was a point where I had pitched a whole bunch of articles and no one was taking them.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, fine, I'm just going to write my own. And then I wrote that pre-book order thing, and it ended up doing really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
For sure.
so like, if there's a block, you just have to find a way through it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not, um, and I probably am a bit obsessive and probably work on it more than people will want to.
Mhm.
I think people
Yeah.
who have more normal life
Yeah.
than I do.
Well, but yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean it's so valuable for folks to learn from you and learn from your experiences,
yeah.
right? To see how they can maybe approach things and try things in a different way.
And also be gentle with yourself. Like, you're not gonna.
Yeah.
I was trying to do it all and I burned out.
Right.
And you don't maybe don't do it all. Like, I know in-person events exhaust me probably more than the average person.
Yeah.
So I should spread them out.
Right. Hmm.
Don't have three in a month,
Yeah. And yeah, what
if you
that
can
idea
help it.
that no is a one word answer. You
Yeah.
don't have to say yes to everything and know
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Just try and arrange it so just know yourself. But other people, love them and they get energy from them, and
Right.
I get more energy from connecting online.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for sure.
so
Yeah,
so you just kind of have
absolutely.
to know yourself. And so I will spend lots of time on Substack because I like it, not because I'm trying, you know, like
Yeah.
I was on there when there was no social media component to it. I
Right.
still
Yeah.
was doing it.
Yeah.
So I love, oh, I'm gonna write a little piece and put it up. And, you know, I enjoy doing that. And I just think you have to do whatever you want. If anything
Great.
feels like work to me, then I won't do it. Like I was initially gonna start reviews on the site, and then I realized it's too much. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I can't do it. It's too much
I feel
work
the
because
same
then
way.
real editing has to take place. Like couple of people, I mean, I was like, oh, I actually have to, and I'm not being paid.
Well,
And so
yeah.
I can't, it's taking too much for me. And I had to write people, I could say I'm actually not doing
Yeah.
reviews.
Yeah. I have
I
thought about
just
that
like,
too,
yeah,
but reviews are, I mean, it takes somebody who, I don't know, like I just feel like I would spend so much time reading and writing about those pieces and just not have enough time for my own writing. And so
yeah,
there's kind of like there's always a give and take with whatever you choose to do. So I have
yeah,
just opted not to do reviews, but I totally value the people who do them because it's a
yeah.
lot of work.
Well, I sometimes will do like a little mini, like a couple
Yeah.
sentences and I'll do something like that for books I've read, but I was actually going to host reviews and pay for them.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just too much labor, and it suddenly became work because
Yeah.
you just have to edit in a different way for
Yeah,
reviews.
for sure.
And you have to make sure that someone who hasn't read the book can understand the synopsis,
Yeah.
and there's a lot more that goes in it.
Yeah.
And so I just realized that's too much for
Yeah.
me. Like I'm willing to put a lot into the literary community, but that's just like
Sure.
a level that, and
Yeah.
maybe another time in my life I'll be able to, or
Yeah.
maybe I'll find someone who wants to be a review editor
Yeah.
or something like that.
100%.
But I just it's like I'm willing to host them, but I
Yes.
can't, I just don't have the energy to. And
100%.
and when I realize like, oh, I've expanded too much now. I'm gonna do some interviews again.
Okay.
But I've decided I want to do interviews where writers talk about everything but writing. So
Ooh, that's fun. I
let
love
me know if you
that.
want to do one.
Oh, 100%. I'll do
Would
that.
you want to do? Okay, okay. Yeah, it's a bit of an experiment. I don't know if it's cheesy or not, but I ran it by my husband. He kind of got into it. And he's like, because like some of the questions are like, um, tell me about your favorite coincidence.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
like those kind of questions. And
Love
so,
that.
and so I was reading them and he's like, oh, let me think. Well, I had a coincidence here. And then I was like, oh, do you want to do one? Because like that anyone could do. You don't have to be a writer. He's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm private, but I'll do it with you. Like he's like, I'll have the conversation with you. But
That's
so
awesome.
so anyways, yeah, I'm just doing that. And it just more like I just want something fun. The
Yeah.
world is so bad right now.
Yep.
And
We
I
need
just
it.
want something sort of that's interesting, and then
Yeah.
so anyways, I'll send you my questions if you don't think they're too
Oh,
cheesy.
I love cheesy. Bring on the cheese.
Okay.
So good.
um, and so yeah, so just sort of a kind of a positive thing, but to do book interviews of people's books, again, that's like too
Yeah.
more labor than I'm willing to put
Yeah.
in when I'm already
For
putting
sure.
in so much.
Yeah.
That you need to ask really specific questions, and like it's too, and also it's the same questions they're getting everywhere else,
Yeah.
so you can still
Yeah.
promote your book
Yeah.
or whatever it is you want to promote, but I want to know what your first memory of existing in the world
I love
is,
that. And that's
you know.
another way of getting to know the authors, right? Like it's just
Yeah,
it is it's insight that you don't like we you can read a review of several reviews of the same
yeah,
book and you get a lot of the same material and then you read
yeah.
something about the author and it's like, "Oh, that is not information you would have gotten
That I
anywhere
would ever,
else." Like it'd
yeah.
be
So
so
that's why I
fun.
thought about it. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought maybe it'll be fun for them. It'll be fun for me.
Yeah.
It won't be heavy editing, but yeah. So that's the thing is, even when I do stuff on the Substack, it's like I want to connect and support, but I do have a limit, and
Yes.
I
100%.
put a lot of labor in, but the minute it starts to feel like work, then I know I've
Yeah.
pushed myself too far, and then I'm pulling back.
Yeah. I love that. That's great.
And so anyways, that's my new thing. I'll send you
Yay, I
when
love
we're
that.
done. But
So fun.
yeah,
So
I think it
fun.
should be fun. And
Awesome.
but yeah, that's it. I just if I'm not having a good time, then I stop. And that's why I tell everyone like Even
Good
if you do
advice.
one thing, it's better than
Yeah.
doing 10 things you hate.
Yeah, do one thing you love, do something that gives you joy and it doesn't feel, like you say, it doesn't feel like work. And then if you want to add something later down the road, add something later on
Yeah.
down the road or not. Like it's
Yeah.
fine, but do something, right? If for writing, we've got to do that part. I really, really appreciate you chatting with me today. It was so fun, and
Yeah.
I just love every. I hope that we have a chance to chat again because you have
Oh, for
lots of
sure.
experience and things that we can learn from.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for taking your coffee break with us today. I appreciate it,
Yeah. Well,
Kathryn.
thanks for having me on, and it's just been great to connect with you. And yeah, I'll send you the questions for my
Awesome, love
cheesy
it.
interview.
And everyone can go find it on Cinema I Love
Yeah.
Genuine on Substack,
Yeah.
and then they can read all about my cheesy experiences. All right, thank you.
Bye.
If you're a writer who is struggling to find time to get your manuscript done, the Women Writing Mentorship Program could be for you. Embark on a transformative year-long journey and unlock your full storytelling potential. Imagine developing the foundational elements for your novel or memoir, completing a flexible roadmap, and drafting your entire manuscript. Picture the satisfaction of achieving your writing goals with unwavering support and encouragement every step of the way. Join a vibrant community of passionate writers who share your aspirations and dreams. The mentorship program includes a weekly 90-minute Zoom call, including a check-in, writing prompts, craft discussion, hot seat coaching, and group discussions, the completion of the Author Accelerator's blueprint for a book, completion of an inside outline for fiction or impact outline for memoir, a completed draft of your novel or memoir by the end of the year, support and encouragement to reach your goals, and a community of like-minded individuals with similar goals. By the end of the year, not only will you have completed the Author Accelerator's blueprint, but you will also have a fully developed outline culminating in a draft of your novel or memoir. Plus, optional personalized feedback on your pages is available for an additional fee. Bonus. Women Writing subscription will be offered to you complimentary. It includes inspiring author features, the Women Writing podcast, Book Coach Writes a Book newsletter with tips and strategies, and bi-weekly 90-minute writing sessions and the monthly Substack live chats. So the Women Writing Mentorship Program begins on May 1st, 2025. We meet on Sundays from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Isn't it time to take the leap and make your writing dreams a reality? I'm here to support you. Let me know if you have any questions. You can contact me at lisabookcoach@gmail.com or check out details at lisakovalabookcoach.com. Take care. If you're interested in exploring your creativity in a safe and supportive environment of women writers, join us for a weekend getaway on the French River in beautiful Ontario from May 23rd to the 25th, 2025. Learn more at rekindlecreativity.com. Do you have writing goals that you want to achieve in 2025? If you need support, encouragement, accountability, and community, join the Women Writing Circle. We meet bi-weekly to set writing goals and get pages done. Go to Women Writing on Substack and subscribe. Let's create a little magic this year. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to have a coffee break with us at Women Writing. Don't forget to subscribe to Women Writing on Substack. If you like this episode, share it with someone who needs a writing break and a little inspiration. Happy writing! Thank you to Michael Jensen for his original music and editing, and to Mia Jensen for the logo design.